Remember, don't be intimidated by poetry questions. You don't need to understand poetry to get this. It's more about vocab than anything else. So when they say what most effectively illustrates the claim, just pay attention to what the claim is in the lines, and they make it very clear. When Dawn Comes to the City is a 1922 poem by Claude McKay, who immigrated to the United States from the island nation of Jamaica as an adult. The poem conveys McKay's contrasting feelings about New York City, his adopted home in the U.S., and his home country. So there's really three things, three like check boxes that I'm interested in and hopefully seeing in the lines. There's definitely some sort of contrast, something about New York or the U.S., and his home country, which we know is Jamaica. They say that. So those three things hopefully are going to be talked about in some way. Let's see what we get from the choices. A lonely newsboy hurries by, humming a recent ditty. Red streaks strike through the gray of the sky. The dawn comes to the city. Okay, well, it's about New York City, so that's one check. Maybe it's contrasting, right? I mean, dawn versus gray. You're humming something, you're lonely. I don't know, maybe that's two check marks. I don't see them at Jamaica, though. Let's keep going. B, dark figures start for work. I watch them sadly shuffle on. 'Tis dawn, dawn in New York, but I would be on the island of the sea, in the heart of the island of the sea. Okay, well, we definitely talk about New York, so that's one check. And we talk about Jamaica, so it's the island, right? So check. And then, well, they're sad, but it's dawn. That maybe is a contrast, so maybe that's check 3, but I'm a little nervous about that one. That doesn't seem as obvious as the other two, but let's move on. Let's see. C, and the shaggy nanny goat is calling, calling, calling from her little trampled corner of the long, wide lea that stretches to the waters of the hill stream falling, sheer upon the flat rocks joyously. Okay, so something's joyous, it's positive. Is the goat good or bad? I don't think it's bad. I don't think this checks any boxes, right? And maybe it's talking about Jamaica, I guess. It's not a lot of goats in New York. So maybe that's one thing, but this is a stretch. So I don't see anything that like obviously checks off those boxes. Let's look at D. The tired cars go grumbling by. The moaning, groaning cars is definitely negative. And the old milk carts go rumbling by under the same dull stars. This is all negative. So there's no positives. There's no idea of contrasting feelings. This is about New York, so that checks off. But notice, like, one of these clearly is better than the others. B, even if I wasn't sure about one of the components, at least I had like a kind of like sense that maybe it was being checked off, right? So we definitely had stuff about New York. We definitely had stuff about Jamaica. And then whether or not it was kind of this contrasting feelings, that maybe is more poetic, right? That's more up to my interpretation. But because I'm looking for it, I'm more likely to notice it. And I don't need to be certain. I just need to kind of have something to go on. And none of the other choices are confidently checking off 3 boxes. So we've got a winner. Pick it, move on. This is how these poetry questions are going to feel a lot of the times. You're not necessarily going to know for sure because poetry is inherently kind of difficult to read and is kind of open to interpretation sometimes, but these are not subjective questions. There's going to be one kind of like provable right answer. So what you want to do is kind of treat it like I am, as like more of a scientific approach where you've got these 3 ideas, 1, 2, 3, and you're hoping to check off all 3. If you only get to 2 1/4, then fine, good enough, pick it, move on.